Thank you. Hi, good morning. Wes White, Salinas, Monterey County Homeless Union, also a member of the lead committee on the Continuum of Care. There was a grants pass decision through the Supreme Court that's made it a lot easier for people to be driven out of wherever they're at. We need to stop that whole attitude, I suppose. This is a body I've been coming to for almost a decade now, 8 years maybe. We should have had some kind of consciousness of change and holding our jurisdictions more accountable so that we can do fruition of service through the continuum. Now, that actually would require somebody to be able to be somewhere 24 hours a day, especially if they're maintaining minimal health and safety standards and they're not, doing crime, visible crime, other than existing and trying to be somewhere. They're entitled to some personal property, even if they don't own any real property or paid for through rent. There's a lot more people that are becoming evicted and entering this system that is basically egregious against anyone who's too poor to afford rent. I'm looking at this body and the Continuum of Care to step it up. We could be world-class leaders at this point. There's an opportunity. Jurisdictions may be meaner, but it doesn't mean they necessarily have to be. And apparently, maybe we're not doing as good a job as we could to cajole a better outcome, more reasonable for quality of life and not loss of life. Because that's been happening a lot lately. The city is still taking people's possessions without a notice, which is illegal. They're just not even trying. And we are not even trying as a body in the coalition or the continuum as hard as we could be. So it's not an unknown. It's just willful ignorance. And, it can't just be according to your contract. It has to be something that's going to be better and best practices. So please join me in condemning the jurisdictions and what they do when they just drive people out for no reason other than they just can't be there. That cannot be the way that we do business. You can't be here, cannot be an answer to the problem. That's not my problem. That is what the police say to people as they're stealing people's only possessions in the world, making it much more difficult, and you wonder where that trauma comes from. It's not just drugs. Please help me stop the sweeps.
I'd like to think that this coalition could be part of what will probably be considered to be a radical solution. But what we have to understand as a community, and this is where it all starts, is that pushing people around the map until they become one big traumatized, chronically unsheltered mess is not the solution. It's the anti-solution. It's costing the community dearly to do this, even though most people don't understand that they're paying into that system. But more than that is, as our economy continues to fluctuate, as our rents keep going up, we're going to have more and more people in the system, as Wes suggests. So we all need to start working on real solutions that will be costly in the beginning, but don't have to be as costly as what we've been imagining they could be. I think that there are real common sense solutions to be had. And I also think that this coalition could form a basis of information, could communicate that out to the larger community so that we can start getting people together to do a big community lift of expectations and get behind the solution. That may sound cryptic to some people. I'm happy to discuss it with anybody. But we can't just keep pushing people around the map and expecting them to solve their own problem. That, obviously, we've continued to prove doesn't work.
Thank you, Jill. I think that's important and worthy of additional conversation, as you suggest. Roxanne, you have your hand up.
Good morning, everybody. Roxanne Wilson, County of Monterey. There's a couple of things that I would like to mention. One is I'm still wrapping my brain around grants pass because, as you can imagine, from the county's perspective, people will likely get pushed into unincorporated areas of the county. So this is also very much a concern of mine, and I don't exactly know how we're going to respond, but I am hoping to pull together a group of city leaders as well for us to maybe even do something like we did with the Lead Me Home plan, where you have many people working on it, and then we work on other jurisdictions adopting. This could theoretically at least put some guardrails up, and if everybody agrees to it, we're not saying that, if people are stealing electricity from a house, then you can't respond, but what we're saying is if there is no places for people to go, and really the trash and the blight is really the main problem, then how can we as jurisdictions respond to the root of the problem, which is the trash and the blight, not necessarily the people. So again, I'm still speaking very high level. I don't exactly know if I need a technical assistance provider. But I will tell you that where I'm starting is, I believe in August, and I'll send this to the coalition pretty soon, I am going to have the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness do a presentation to the Monterey County Homelessness Committee. That is open to everybody. It is a Brown acted meeting, so we'll make sure all of you guys know, and we will also work with the cities so that their leadership is aware that that USICH will be helping us, because the 19 strategies for encampments, it really is service oriented. And I think that we all need to, that could be our baseline. Like, how then, if we're doing service oriented responses to encampments, then how do we build our system around that? Okay, so that's the first thing. The second one is we are experiencing a huge amount of NIMBYism. It's worse than when we built the share center for the tiny village in Watsonville. And I think that is because, like, as you guys know, NIMBYs are very loud, and people who support the project are not quite as loud. So, I am hoping that I can rely on our community to counter some of that NIMBYism, because there are lots and lots of people living on the levee. I just received a letter this morning from one of them saying that they would like to get in line. So the point is that people do want help. Maybe not everybody, but for the people who do want help, we should certainly do something for them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Roxanne. I look forward to further conversations about that too, and anything that we can do, Katrina and I and the whole set of agencies, let us know, please.
I will do that. Thank you so much.
So let's talk a little bit about collaboration opportunities and events. We alluded to that earlier. I just think I'll just speak personally for a minute. I think that the spirit of the coalition is all about collaboration. I think our power is in collaboration. And I think the more we can do together, focus our energy on what's important. Roxanne and others had things to say up front in this meeting that I think are important, and I think those are potential areas where we could get together and focus. So it is about the power of the group to me.
First and foremost, I just want to thank the coalition and everything that you stand for. I do know that in Santa Cruz County, agencies are getting together to develop their own coalition based off of what happens here. And it really is because of the power of the collaborative spirit that happens in our county, and we should all be proud of that. One of the things that I am working on, and many of you guys know, and is what are we going to do with the 51 people who are at Work Street? Actually, I heard that's 45. I heard Step Up is actually housing people, so that's great. Cecil Housing Authority and Step Up are currently working on getting folks vouchers. It sounds like there's some rapid rehousing and deposit assistance that's going to become available through CalAIM. I think Dorothy's placed it up and said that they would be willing to help however they need to help. But at this point, we need units. So if there's anything that your agencies become privy to, we are about to have like 45 people with vouchers, and they need somewhere to go. They're all unaccompanied adults. These are the original Project Room Key clients. The vast majority of them came from PRK. And many of these agencies worked on that project with me. Again, thank you so much. It really did make a difference having all the agencies showing up and really exhibiting what the force of the coalition can look like. But also, you may recall, if you helped, these folks are highly vulnerable. They're medically acute individuals. Many of them will not be able to survive, I think, for too much longer, especially as we start heading towards the colder months. So anything that you guys can do or come up with, I think that we would all be greatly appreciative. Thank you. So if you guys feel like you have any thoughts, I can put my email directly inside of the chat, and you can reach out to me if you have something. One of the things I will say is that none of them are veterans. As far as I know, none of them are 18 to 24 years old. So if that's not a true statement, I will rescind that and send an email. But at this very moment, I believe that most of them are elderly. The vast majority of them, I think, are over 50 years old at minimum. And I'm not saying 50 is elderly. I'm just saying many of them are semicolon and some of them are over 50.
Roxanne, on these people that will be displaced after a certain amount of time, are we, and I'm out of the loop a little bit on this, that's my fault, do we still have other hotels that are those still in the converting process, or has all of that stopped at this point because of, what's that name, that group?
Shangri-La.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I can tell you that Fairview is slated to open within the next month or two. Fairview is owned by a lender, and that lender is not interested in any type of partnership in transitioning that property back to the community. There's lots of conversations with that lender to see if they are going to stay true to the home key model. And we have yet to receive verification that they are going to target chronically homeless individuals. Work Street is at a dead stop right now. Work Street is the first home key. Many of you guys have been around for that. It is at a dead stop right now. The building is also owned by a bank now. And that bank is trying their best to work with local jurisdictions to relocate the 51 people so that they can resume construction. At this time, now mind you, it could change, but at this time, Work Street appears to still be on track to serve chronically homeless individuals. Because these projects are owned by banks now, and there's a lot of lawsuits flying around all over the place, I think that everyone is treading carefully, honestly, and the banks are really trying to understand what is going on with the properties that they have purchased. The other property, I think it's Veranda, that one there's no update on. It is also foreclosed and owned by a bank now. The last one is King City. King City is also owned by a bank. They are interested in selling back to the community, and we are working with the Housing Authority and the City of King to negotiate the purchase of that property. There are many issues with that property, but we're doing everything we can to try to bring it back into the community.
We obviously have some problems to solve, don't we? And I sure hope we can get behind Roxanne and find some rooms for these people. Because I shudder